Hello viewers, welcome to another edition of our literary program. Well, this literary program is a bit different. Why? You'll know it very soon. Well, before that, let me tell you that yes, tradition, culture, dances, festivals, lifestyle, they're all part of our ancient culture, our tradition and our heritage. They're considered our heritage, and there is an urgent need to preserve, to protect them in its most pristine form. Well, children these days are fed so much with the mobile phones, with mobile games, etc., that often they move away from understanding or listening to stories that we as children maybe have regaled stories from our grandmothers, etc. Well, there is an organization called the Forgotten Folklore Project. It's a project under the Sora Mandela Foundation. It's an NGO, a non-governmental organization, which is actually working towards bringing alive the traditions, the forgotten folklores, and bringing them in the form of audio, video books, and general books as well, children's books especially, so that this culture, this tradition, this heritage that we are talking about can be passed down on to generation. Because children get attracted not just by printed words, but they can get more attracted if there are visuals, if there are illustrations, if there are colorful graphics, etc. Now, this foundation is doing exactly that, and it is this project, as I said, the Forgotten Folklore Project. And this Sora Mandela Foundation, in fact, is active in all the 8 states of the Northeast, and they are doing some wonderful work, bringing alive the forgotten folklore back into circulation, back into children's knowledge and their understanding. So here we are to discuss the great work that is being done by the Sora Mandela Foundation under the project called the Forgotten Folklore Project in the state of Meghalaya as well. So you be there on the other side and enjoy this program, because this program, as I said, is going to be different, and if there are children around, make sure they also join you to watching this program. May I now go ahead to introduce our panelists, our panel members here in this program. To my immediate left is the founder of Sora Mandela Foundation. He is Naga Karthik MP. We are also being joined by Gladinia Pirto. She is the head designer of the Forgotten Folklore Project. And to my extreme left is Arban Yabot Mautho. He is also an illustrator and a designer, and I'm also told that he's also an architect. It's such a pleasure to have such a very creative team, should I say, buzzing with ideas and putting those ideas into action. Thank you so much for coming to Doordarshan Shillong today. And well, I'm sure that we'll have a great interaction. Thank you so much and welcome to this program.
Thank you so much for having us.
As I said, Naga Karthik, right in the beginning, that, you know, folklore, folk tradition, which is so much active, because, you know, much of our stories that has been told from ancient times are actually in the form of oral tradition, oral history, right? And your foundation, the Sora Mandela Foundation, is trying to preserve them and bring them back into circulation. Tell us a little bit about this foundation that I think it was formed in 2018?
Yes.
Yeah? Tell us a little bit more about the Sora Mandela Foundation.
Sure. First of all, I think thank you so much for having us here. So Sora Mandela Foundation, like you said, we started in 2018. I think the gap we identified was that government policies are usually in a way disconnected from ground realities. Mm-hmm. And that usually happens because the government is a very large infrastructure, right, and they don't have the wherewithal to actually go down to the ground and understand things. Whereas civil society organizations and NGOs on the other side, we have that strength in a way to work with communities, understand what their needs are. So Sora Mandela works at the intersection of these two. We try and work with communities, try and understand what gaps are there on the ground, what the need is. But then we also understand that the government is the largest partner in terms of making change possible. So we take insights from the ground and then we try and work with the government to scale it up. And I think this project is one such example where when we were working on the ground, we saw that there is this gap in early childhood education, in how children start their learning journeys, in can they see themselves represented in how they learn. And I think that's what set off the idea. And from then on, we've been working with communities, with illustrators, with artists, authors from the region, and also the government to try and scale this up.
Yeah. And why have you chosen the Northeast? Because I think you're active in all the Northeastern states, yeah? So what brought you really to the Northeast?
So I think for us, even though we're registered in Bangalore, one of the earlier, what we realized early on was that within a small state, something like this is easier to work with. The governments are more accessible. The governments are also rooted there from the region. I think they also really care about a lot of these problems. So, which is why we started working in the Northeast. Also, when you're on the extreme end of the spectrum, more remote, more vulnerable, more disconnected, sometimes it's also easier to see the problem statements. And in large states, it's a very opaque, it's a very large complex system. So I think those are some of the contributing factors, and that's how the Northeast happened. And Meghalaya in general has scaled up because I think there's been a very proactive acceptance of our approach by the government and how we work.
And Gladinia, you will agree with me when I say that Meghalaya has a very rich oral tradition, oral culture, and the folklore, the folk traditions are beautiful. The stories, are so amazing. I mean, and it can create an awe in our minds, right? How important it is really to bring alive these dying stories, because that's what you people are doing, and helping the children get rooted to their roots once again.
I feel like there's so many different variations of culture, of stories across the region.
Right.
We have the Garos, we have the Khasis, we have the Panars, the Wars, and I feel like children have this confinement to each of their own culture as well. So through our documentation, through our transcription, rewriting stories, in order to fit our current narrative, there's this knowledge that's being passed down to children from all of the different regions. Garos can now learn about Khasi culture. Khasis are now knowing about the Panar culture, Garo culture. And also through this, we're sharing our stories with basically everyone who are coming to the state, who are new to the state, who are new to our culture. So through sharing of stories, through documentations of those oral stories that are passed down from our grandmothers, there is this, the light of the story is being kept alive in each of the different students, each of the different children, and there's always this interest to learn about something that is related to you. When you look at children in storybooks, you see them wearing European dresses, playing with tea sets. We can't relate to that.
That's what I was coming to. That's what I was coming to. Arban, you will also agree with me. I think even your childhood has been a case where, we were all fed with stories, European stories, American stories, cowboy stories, etc. Like Alice in Wonderland, Snow White, Cinderella. Those were some of the stories, that amazed us and stuffs that way. But then we have such wonderful stories here, right? I mean, these stories, and you all have brought it out in the form of lovely, beautiful books. I must congratulate this foundation actually, and their project that you all are doing. It's so colorful, so beautiful. Tell us, what is your role? Because you're an illustrator come designer. What do you have to do when it comes to bringing these stories alive?
So my role as an illustrator is to translate what is being scripted, which is what is being written in the script, and to translate it visually. My role is also to try to make the visuals as authentic as possible, and as close to home as possible.
Right, exactly.
And so I drew a lot of inspiration from my childhood, and from my surroundings. And every winter, my dad would take me to my village to spend the time there, and I would notice the things around me, and so I noticed that even though it's in a village, we still use steel plates, we still use lactogen cans to store sugar, we still use oil jars to store water, all of these things. So these are the things that I put into the illustrations that I make, So even in the dress code, being in this century, I noticed that at least for the men, we do not really wear traditional clothes, right?
Unless it is an occasion.
Unless it is an occasion, we would usually wear, stitched pants and shirt and all, and that's how I put it in the illustrations as well.
Yeah, because I can see some of these graphic, these beautiful cartoons. I should call them cartoons only in my language. Well, they are all very traditionally dressed. So, coming back to you again, Naga, Karthik, I'll come back to the two of you. You have a beautiful team, right? So many people are involved, and young team with full of imagination, with full to go ahead and, they are all masters in their own craft. Tell us about your teamwork.
So I think one of our core beliefs is that local problems can be solved by local people. So I think people from the region, from the state, from the district are actually best suited to solve their own problems because they have a lived experience associated with it. Like what he said just about his memory. Now that isn't something that someone who's technically sound can bring it. And I think these are the community insights that we really draw on. So very proud to say that a vast majority of our team is actually from Meghalaya or from the region, because we actually draw on insights like these to design solutions. So which is how we really get away from a lot of the European designs or a London Bridge or an old MacDonald had a farm, which have absolutely no tangible aspect to it, but something that's drawn out of memory. I think it brings that sense of nostalgia, representation. So the team is largely here. They understand this. They relate to a lot of the problems that we work on, and I think our eventual goal is also to build their capacity to be problem solvers for the region. I think this is one of the problems we've started on now, but as we start to solve this, there'll be multiple other gaps that will come out. But I mean, what we're moving towards is to hope that they all become problem solvers. They're able to identify these things and actually help solve them.
And Gladinia, when you are bringing these stories alive, what is the process like? Because it has to be as authentic as possible. So how do you keep it as authentic and true in its real sense?
We have 3 researchers with us. We have one from the Garo Hills, one from the Khasi Hills, and one from the Jaintia.
Okay.
All of these people have their own connections from rural areas who they go to. They hear stories, they listen to stories, they take a look at the environment, they record everything. Post that, they come back to the office, they transcribe the data that they've got, they transcribe the stories that they've got, and then using that story that have been told to us, we send it to an author who is also from the region. The author will try to create a very child-friendly story using what was given to them. We try to create a story that is very friendly for children. We don't want something that's too difficult to digest. Post the story creation, we have editors, so there's a lot of back and forth in that moment. Post that, we have illustrators who we send the story to. They create the illustrations for us. Post that, the designer will come in and create a book for it. We have this published in online as well as physical copies, so that they're open for anyone for however they want to read it.
Yeah, and I've also read somewhere that actually you people go and live with the communities, right? Tell us about it. Like, how has that experience been, and how forthcoming they were? Because initially everybody is a little suspicious, not too really wondering what's going on. They are not sure. So how have the people to whom you have gone, and how have you mingled with the community? How receptive have they been?
I think having someone from the community, researchers from the community, talk to them in their local languages really help with that sense of friendliness. You go to them, you talk in either Khasi or Panar, and they'll instantly open up to you. They'll be like, "Oh, you're from there, where are you from? What's your title?" As the conversation normally goes. And then through that, through us talking, us explaining what our job is, what we want to do for the community, everyone is more than willing to share the stories. These stories are something that even they want to recollect, even they want to keep somewhere that will last forever, right? So a lot of them are very forthcoming. A lot of them are very, they're shy at first, but then post that when they take you to locations like, let's say, the Root Bridge, they end up talking about their journey, about how they built the bridge, how they took care of the bridge through the generations. And that also creates a connection between us and them.
And yes, and Arman, what are the kind of stories that has been brought forward so far? Like how many have you all like kind of published, etc. And you know, and because I can see some books also. So if you can just show it for the sake, because you know we are just talking, but then children always understand things visually a little bit more. So what do you have? I can see some books that you brought for us.
Yes, so I worked with Sora Mandela Foundation on 4 children's book.
Okay.
These are two of them. So the first one is called Bun's Journey in Music.
Okay.
It is a story situated in the village of Wakhen about a boy named Bun and his journey discovering how
and you've taken a local name again, obviously. Bun, very common name.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's about his journey and how he learns to play these traditional instruments of the
You can open it also a
Khasis.
little bit for us, maybe.
Yeah. So once again, this is based in Wakhen, in the village of Wakhen, and towards the end, he finally discovers how to play these traditional instruments of the Khasis.
Okay.
So this is one book that I worked with. Another one is called Pasang's First Siabru.
Okay.
It is a story that is situated in the state of Sikkim.
Okay.
It's about a boy named Pasang who went home to perform the Siabru dance for Losar, which is also known as the Tibetan New Year. And Siabru is the traditional folk dance of the Sherpa community, and it's his journey of how he learns and how he overcomes his fear, and how his grandmother supported him throughout his journey, and towards the end he finally learns
so
how
colorful,
to dance.
so vibrant, so pretty, in fact, right?
Yeah.
And they must be children must be naturally drawn to them, right? So, I mean, how has the going been for you? I mean, you have been here for some time. You all have organized programs. I've seen you all in, in book fairs, etc. also, where you all are, you have a stall of your own. How has the children of this place been receptive?
Well, I think the response has been great. So though we've designed a lot of these books with children in mind, what has been also very surprising is how adults have also reacted to it.
Right.
So I have this one recent anecdote when I was in the Garo Hills for some site visits, and we entered a homestay, and suddenly the person who owns the homestay saw me, and then so we have this book called My Jing Jing, which is also an animated song.
Right.
And he just dropped the bags and started singing the song. Then he called his children, then he called his grandmother, and everyone was actually sort of reliving their moment. So I think that for us we were like, okay, wow. So though we've designed this for children, and of course children are responding to it and relating to it in a certain sense, it's also, I think, opening up conversations maybe in their homes or between teachers or Anganwadi workers. And so I think that way everyone feels seen in a way, and I don't think that kind of representation was there before.
True. Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, Gladinia, each of your stories also has a moral lesson or some kind of lesson. You end it with that. Supposing there is a story on I've forgotten what was that story, because I did read a few of them, but you ended it with how one should take care of one's environment and surroundings. So why have you all also combined these two elements in it?
We really want children to have something that they could learn from it. We make our books with development in mind, so either emotional development, physical development, language development. So I think the book that you're referring to is When a Huro Sings.
Yes.
It talks about the huros, which are native to the Garo Hills, and they're also endangered. And because of ongoing construction and deforestation, their home is ultimately being affected. And through that, we would also like children to understand that what we do matters for the environment, and for them to grow up to learn to respect the environment, respect Mother Nature. And similarly, we have books about how to deal with grief, how to deal with, the passing of someone you love. We try to have even dances, even the Kasi dance. That way children can follow along with what they're reading, and in turn they also kind of learn their own culture of how to do the Kasi dance.
Yeah, because parents in today's fast-paced world, I don't really blame them, because everybody is trying very hard to earn a livelihood. Both parents could be involved, and so children are left often a mobile phone being given to them right from very early days, and that can actually have a very, very negative impact, right? But then when you give them these kind of books, so colorful, whether they understand or not initially, but then slowly they would, right? Arman, how you of course have written, and I'm sure later on you equally get fascinated by your own books and by all the color and the animation that you see. And therefore, don't you think that more parents should encourage their children more towards these kind of books, to read books more?
Definitely. Even in this day and age, at this age of technology, I still observe parents would still buy books for their children, and but it just so happened that the ones that are available, the colorful ones, the visual ones, are the ones of the West. So yeah, definitely.
And I think you all have all kept the books small, readable, and very easy on the price too, so that it is affordable for all, right?
Yes, so I think the ultimate goal is to try and get this to as many children as possible, and think there's definitely a lot further that we need to go in order to make that happen. But I think that is the eventual goal, to try and keep it accessible, affordable. Which is also why we have a digital plus a physical form of it, because digital dissemination is obviously more easy in today's day and age, but we also understand the importance of print, and I think reading a book in its actual print form has its own aura sort of associated with it.
And how many books have you all published so far? I mean, from all the states so far?
So 65 books we've published.
And so 65 stories, that means?
65 stories, and 45 of them are from Meghalaya, 15 from each of the 3 major regions. The books in Meghalaya are available in English, Khasi, Garo and Panar. And I'm told that I think the first ever children's book that was published in Panar was one of our books. I think it's also a first for communities in that sense.
Yeah, it's exciting time, I think, and Gladinia, you would also agree that, parents should encourage the habit of reading right from early days to the children. And when such books are given to them, and even if a parent can sit along with these kind of books, even to a toddler, that interest in reading will develop, will grow.
Yes, it's a great way for language acquisition as well. You can read a book. We have multiple books which have 2 languages. You learn easier in your local language. This is something that we've come to learn. And because we have the English translation there as well, you end up acquiring the English language while you're still a child too. So it comes more naturally than trying to force someone to learn the ABCs instead of the ABKs. That said, reading also really helps with your mental development. I see content for children nowadays are very fast-paced. They're very strong. They are there for only a moment. They keep your attention for a moment, and then they move on to something else. They keep your attention on them, but in turn, they make your attention a lot more limited. So with books, you have that patience. The children learn to be patient. They're not as aggressive when it comes to not getting what they want. So I think it's very important to have kids learn to read, learn to enjoy reading, and try to have, live their life as kids.
Yes, absolutely, because this is such an important point that you've made. Children should continue to live their childhood more. We make them grow up so fast, and in no time their childhood, those days that will never come back. Where do we get these books? Where can parents, because I'm sure many of the parents who are watching this program will be fascinated now, and they'll want to know, where do they buy these books from?
So digitally, they're available on a website called Story Weaver, which is an online platform for stories. all of our books are available there. Physical is where it's a challenge that we are also trying to sort of
Meet
solve
up.
for now.
Okay.
Because one of the challenges is that I think the Northeast does not have a culture of publication and bookstores, and also in general it's not considered a reading market. And the publication game is such that you need to do really high numbers in order to make it more affordable and accessible. So I think that's something we're actually trying to solve right now. One of the things that we want to do is to try and get to work with the government to get these into schools and Anganwadis as part of partnerships with the government, so that at least within these institutions they are available. And I feel if we are able to do something like that, then we'd also be able to maybe work with some of the local small cafes and bookstores to also make copies available there.
Right.
But that's definitely a challenge that we'll have to figure out right now.
I think it better be resolved quite soon, because I think these books are so colorful, so pretty and so easy to read. They should be read by children, because otherwise the whole exercise becomes a little meaningless, isn't it?
Absolutely.
What are the future plans before we almost come to the end?
So I think couple of ways that we look at it. One is the role that these books have to play within, say, the education and the early childhood learning ecosystem, and that's where we'd like to get them into schools, into Anganwadis, work with teachers and parents. So each story has activities associated with it which are tagged back to the national education policy. So everything is thought through in terms of what are the learning outcomes and so on. So we definitely want to get at least the Meghalaya books into the system and try and scale this, build the capacity of teachers and Anganwadi workers. With the work in other states, so we've published only 20 books from the remaining 7 states. So it means there's a lot of work to be done.
Right.
So we want to run more cohorts of our fellowship to get more authors, illustrators from these regions to actually bring these stories to life. But eventual goal, I think, is to try and get these stories and these learning activities to as many children as possible over the next few years.
Absolutely. And Gladinia, before we really come to the end, what is a quick message you would like to give to all the people who are watching this program? And if you could repeat the name of the website, so that at least digitally the parents can go and access that website.
My message would be to ask everyone to read more books, check out our books, and disseminate our stories, disseminate your stories and what you have heard from your mother, your grandmother. These are all very stories that link your childhood to your children's childhood, and they'll take it with them throughout their lives. So talk about stories, read stories. It's a very fun thing to do. And you can read our books on Storyweaver, STORYWEAVER.
All right, wonderful. And I would once again thank each one of you for coming. We could have gone and made you read maybe, but then let's wait for the children to do that and the parents to be excited about it. But it's been a pleasure having all 3 of you. Thank you so much for your time and explaining to us the wonderful work that this foundation is doing towards enhancing and keeping alive the tradition and the heritage of the region. Thank you so much. Well then, my dear viewers, I hope you've enjoyed this chit-chat that we just had in our literary program, and you will go looking for these books. As I said, they are beautiful books, and as Naga Karthik also said, it surely would excite not just the children but even the adults, and you will also want to actually read them. And as Gladinia also said, reading should become a part and parcel of one's life right from early days. Thank you for watching this program, and until next time, from all of us here, it's wishing you goodbye.